Do you believe that men believe that mentorship is important in terms of mentoring teens? Do you believe men believe that?
I think men do, right? I
You
do
think so?
think that I think men do, but men, especially today, is so caught up in life and what they are navigating that they can't even see themselves helping somebody else, right? Because they're like, yo, how can I commit myself to helping you? And I need a lifeline myself. What up? What up?
I'm
We
looking. What's
are
up?
here. We are live. We are locked
We
and loaded.
live,
Cole, listen,
man.
brother,
How you been?
welcome
It's
to
been a minute.
another edition. No, listen, I'm gonna do this part. Welcome to another
Would
edition
you?
of a Father's Heart podcast with your boy Shon and Cole.
And your boy Cole. Come on, man.
Yeah,
I feel I
it's
don't got
Mental
my
Health
hat the way I
Thursday.
want my hat to be, man. It's my head ain't hatting.
Yo, your hat is hatting. Your forehead look like it's shrinking, like it's coming
Man,
back to where it's supposed to be.
uh it's so hard, man. It's so hard. What's up, Shon, man? How you
Yo,
been, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad that we found the time, made the time, not found. We made the time to get back at it,
Yeah.
to doing what we do, man. Just serving the people, just connecting. And I know a whole lot has been going on. Yo,
Yes,
you
sir.
had one of the most busiest
Yes,
months
sir.
of September and October.
Months.
Like, yo,
It's just it's funny, man. You talk about living this dream of this. I want to travel the world. I want to keynote speak. I want to train people, and then you actually do it. And it's like, part of me is like, yeah, I believed it could happen, and now that it's happening, I'm now, like, oh, okay, it's real. Oh, it's
yeah, 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 yeah. It's
so
like,
yeah, man. I'm just glad to be here. And man, too, you've had some amazing stuff happening on your end too, brother.
yeah, man. Yo, this is what we do, bro. This is what we do. It's been a lot of fun, man. Been to I was just in Buffalo. Boy, Antoine Johnson, man. I met him years ago through another conference, and he had a fatherhood conference out in Buffalo, and it was super dope, man. Never been to Buffalo before, and what was really cool, I had a friend who is a administrator out in Rochester, which is
Okay.
probably about an hour apart. And now I was like, yo, I'm gonna be in town speaking in Buffalo. And it was just like, yo, ain't there's no way you're gonna come to my neck of the woods and not come and
Yeah.
bless my students. And I was like, yo, I was gonna hit you up anyway. How can I serve? How can I be of any type of assistance? And yo, it was dope, man. It was dope, man. It's one of the largest schools in the state of New York,
Mm.
and you can tell that the students have some challenges, right? But the
Okay.
crazy thing about it, though, man, they was hungry, right?
Mm.
They were hungry, man. You can tell that the educators and the people there that they really really care. And you have a lot of those students, man, who really want it, but it's difficult. And for some of them, it's difficult, man, to navigate, childhood, um, and slash adulthood that they're
Yeah.
thrown into at the same time. And it was crazy of how many of them came up to me afterwards, talking about the impact of the story that I shared, because of them not having a great relationship with their own fathers. And these are things
Yeah.
that they're navigating at this age, right? And a lot of times, Cole, when I talk about my father's story, I have to be careful because, I'm 40 plus years old, right? And it took me a long time to navigate. So when I talk about forgiveness and healing and how a relationship is dope. I don't want people to have a false narrative of like, yo,
Right.
that can be me like tomorrow. I'm like, yo,
Right.
you still young and you still processing, right?
Yeah.
So I give, advice, I give insight and wisdom, but at the same time, I'm not naive to
Yeah.
thinking that somebody who is 18, 16, even 12 years old is going to be able to process this at that age, right? And be able to come to a conclusion where they are able to, just really navigate it, right? Without the support. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, it's a difficult line when I share these type of stories.
So, Sean, let me ask you this, man. For children that grow up without their fathers, right, or have some type of difficult or journey with their dad, do you believe that mentorship is key? So, if they don't have a father figure, do you think that a male mentor is really significant in the lives of children,
I
teenagers?
I do, right?
You do.
I do. Um, I do for this reason. I do because there's nothing like replacing your biological,
Right.
right? Nothing like it. So many people can step up and assist and help you and all of that type of stuff, and it's super dope. There's nothing or no one that can replace that biological, right? Um, but I do believe mentors is important because they can help you navigate whatever you need to navigate. Like that is their role. Like if when you are a coach for a team, right? You the one who still got to go out there and play the game.
Right.
I'm going to teach you the X's and O's. I'm going to help you put yourself in the best position to be successful, but you're still the one that's in combat. You still have to go up against the opposition,
So
right?
let me ask you this. Do you believe that men believe that mentorship is important in terms of mentoring teens? Do you believe men believe that?
I don't, I think it's a couple things, man. Like if we keep it in 100, like men,
Yeah.
I think men do, right? I
You
do
think so?
think that I think men do, but men, especially today, is so caught up in life and what they are navigating that they can't even see themselves helping somebody else, right? Because they're like, yo, how can I commit myself to helping you? And I need a lifeline myself, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, yo, I don't even have all of my stuff together. And so that is one of those big challenges that I believe that many men are facing. Is like, yo, I do believe they need me, but you know what? Or no, not that they don't need, not that they need me. They're saying they do need a male mentor. They do need help, but I'm not the person for you. Why? Because I'm not in the best spot. And so men will go to that extreme because they don't see themselves worthy or qualified in this moment because they're still struggling, whatever they're struggling. And they're like, yo, I don't want to be that for you because I'm living a double life, right? And so I think that's why some men have a real hard challenge. And if I can add to this, man, is that culturally, um, it is hard for people of color to mentor or because of the psyche, right? Of how we view one another from that
Okay.
standpoint, right? Like people are like, I'm not gonna mentor unless I'm way up here, and so you're no
Mm.
longer a threat.
Okay. And one of the reasons why I'm asking that question, so it aligns perfectly with um, something I heard today that really struck a chord in me. I was talking to a really good friend of mine, and one of the things that he shared is that you know, men men don't mentor. He's like they don't. That's not their thing. They may want a mentor, but men nowadays don't aren't interested in mentoring. And I was kind of taken back by that. I'm like, well, we've got kids that have their programs that have a huge waiting list for mentorship. But when I thought about it, I think about my own experiences working with teenagers and interacting with them in the 21st century, and it is probably one of the most challenging things to do, especially if you have this radar around what is respect and what you think you should earn or have when you walk into a room with young men. And so I've come to know that I used to think, oh, when I come into a room, you know who I am, so you should be able to, when I enter this space, respect me, listen to me. And I've been in situations where I'm talking and somebody has a remote control to a television that's behind me. They'll turn the television on, turn the volume up on me. And I'm like, yo, you know who you sitting in the room with? You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't
Do
see
you
this gray
know?
beard? Look, I'm coming to give wisdom. And they like, bro, I don't know you. You don't men like you don't show up consistently, all of the things. And so it really took me back when I was just like, oh, okay, I haven't earned the relationship to get young people to sit in the room with me and be able to dialogue with me in a way that feels what I would describe respectful. And so, yeah, I come in, I'm bringing gift cards, I'm coming in, I'm bringing food. We about to break bread. But if they have not had access to men that look like me and you, and then we show up to say, hey, we want to support, it's a long haul. It's not a short term thing. They're used to men not being present and not showing up. And so I think that's another part of it, is that there's this narrative that men who do show up in these spaces sometimes are expecting, hey, I'm here. I deserve that respect. But young people in the 21st century is saying, you don't get respect just because you show up.
Yeah,
You have to fight for this because
yeah,
I have not had access
yeah,
to men. So it's really been interesting because I also find that mentorship also feels like parenting. So I'm not only mentoring you, but I'm also parenting you, especially if you haven't had that type of father involvement. So I think that that's also been really interesting too. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't have time to parent you if I'm also parenting my own children. And so, how does mentorship show up in spaces where there aren't men who need boys need us.
yeah,
But if we aren't showing up in those spaces for all the reasons you described and all the reasons I'm describing as well, then how do we make sure that how do we stop some of the cycles that we're seeing?
yeah. So one of the things, and I'm hoping I'm not getting them mixed up, but there's a huge difference that I learned. I'm part of this organization where we're being mentored, right? We're being coached up. Um, we in a is a fellowship, right? It's been an 18-month
Yep.
fellowship. Um, and one of the things that I've learned being in here is that they assign coaches to us, um, and they made it very clear that I'm your coach and not a consultant,
Mm, that's
right?
good.
They made it very clear, and so as much as I thought I knew what that was, I didn't. And
Yeah.
they made it clear, like, hey, I'm your coach. What your coach do is ask you the right questions, help you think and process information, right? To come up with the conclusion of what you need to create um, for your business, right? So I'm going to give you homework. We're going to think through this. I may read through a few things for you, Shon and Leah, but this is what you have to go and do.
Right.
You're going to
Okay.
do it. Versus a consultant is one, depending on that contract, that consultant is not only helping you process and think things through, but they're also doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
They're leaving you, they're going to do a whole lot of homework and research and the whole nine to help you develop this whole thing. And so what has happened, I believe, is that we have asked for mentors and coaches to come along, walk alongside of these young boys and girls, but they wind up becoming consultants. They doing all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Right? So they're like, yo, I didn't sign up for all of this extra stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so I look at it like me, like, keep it 100. I tell George all the time, I'm like, yo, I admire what you do, but I don't desire what you do. And he say all the time, like, yo, we do the same thing. I'm like, bro, no, we don't. No, we don't. I talk to people all day long, and I may coach somebody, and I may spend time with somebody, for 30 minutes or an hour, whatever the case. And I may boo-hoo and cry with them. But guess what? It's a one-off. And then I'm done. Whereas him, he's doing a lot of heavy lifting consistently. And so I know my capacity and I know my gift. Yo, I get burned out if I had to do all of that he does. And so when we're talking about mentorship, Cole, I think we have to redefine and help people understand like what their role is. And agencies and parents shouldn't expect, because what you said, I don't want to parent somebody else's child. That's what the consultant does, right? I don't want to parent and do all of this type of stuff and running you here and running you there. Like, that's parenting.
Yeah.
Coaching and mentorship is helping process.
Yeah.
And you go do the work. And then you check back with me next week and tell me what you implemented and how did it work.
Yeah. And I think that distinction is necessary, and it's important to help distinguish between the two, because I do think that there's a burnout rate that's extremely high because you've got men carrying the weight of all the things that they have to carry. And then they bring a young man in their lives, and it's like, oh, okay, not only do I got to coach him, but I also got to parent him. And I might also at some point have to provide shelter for him.
Yes.
And all the other things that come with it.
Yes.
If he does not have the resources and the support. And that in itself can be, nope, I'm not signing up. I'm not returning.
Yeah.
Because it can be difficult to do that. So I do think having a distinction and an outline of what the two is, and making sure that there is boundaries put in place to make sure that it stays that way. Because I don't know about you, but I mean, the amount of calls and emails and messages that I get around, hey, I need, my son, my grandson, they need a mentor. And it's like, I want to, but I already know what that comes with.
See, this is the difference. I do get those calls, right?
Yeah.
But mine is mostly for adult men.
Ah.
And guess what?
Yep.
I have a program for that. What's up, Father's Heart podcast family? We have sponsorships now, and this week's sponsor is none other than Involved Dad. So listen up, fathers. Are you looking for a deeper understanding to understand fatherhood and make a positive impact in your children and families' lives? Look no further than Involved Dad, right? Where we create strong fathers through fatherhood engagement, right? It's extremely important for children to have fathers that are not only showing up, but they are showing out, that they are fully invested, they are fully engaged. So this week's sponsor is an agency, man, that knows the ins and outs of fatherhood and know how to strengthen families, know how to fill the gaps and connect families to the right resources so they can live their best lives and become more and more successful. So listen, if you need assistance, if you know someone who need help on fathering, on parenting, co-parenting, or a father that is just struggling, right? That he does not know how and what to do about his next move, because this game that we call this life that we live, sometime, man, it's like a game of chess, right? Like knowing your next move, and that involve dad. What we do, we help fathers make their next best move. So reach out to us, right? The number is 313-757-1388, and you can find us on the web as well, and that is involveddad.org. No S, because a lot of people put involved dads, although we want involved dads, but it's involveddad.org. So yes, listen, don't be average, you might as well be elite in your parenting and in fatherhood.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm doing now is research, contacting
Yeah.
these mentorship organizations and
I have a
saying, "Hey,
resource for that."
yeah." But even within that,
Yep.
there's not enough consultants, or there's a lot of consultants that aren't, they don't have their license, or they haven't done the
Yes.
paperwork yet.
Yes.
So we've got kids just sort of waiting in limbo for somebody to show up.
Yep.
And I think that's the part I'm most concerned about. But I just thought to myself, I'm like, man, when we think about fatherhood, we think about coaching, because there's a lot of boys that get all of that through coaching. But what happens to the boys that don't play sports
Yep.
and don't have a village in the community?
Yep.
Where does he go
Yep.
for that life coaching?
Yep.
So I think just something to begin to think about, and maybe this platform is a space for us to create opportunities for men who might be interested in, being a coach, and, us dispatching maybe satellite wise. Cause I'm like, hey, it doesn't have to be physical. We can
Yes.
have a virtual coaching session,
Yes.
for young men who are interested in, hearing and connecting with men who can help guide them along the way.
Facts.
So,
Facts.
maybe this is an opportunity or a call to action. I think I've been learning that more and more in the nonprofit space. How do you make a call to action
Yep.
around creating spaces for young people, young men and young women, to have connections to men who are successful in their own right, who may not necessarily have the bandwidth to physically be present, but do have the bandwidth to show up virtually for a 30-minute session, or whatever that looks like with a larger group. So I think that we do have to do something really creative
Yep.
in finding ways to connect with young people,
Yep.
so that they can get the support they need, because it's dire out here. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, what I'm learning is our local gangs and our communities, oh man, they are tapped in. They are ready. They are reaching out to these young men. They
Yep.
are giving them resources. They are giving them identity. They are giving them a false sense of hope. They are giving them a place to belong. They are, they're calling them. They're staying connected with them. And I'm saying, hey, if your 15-year-old young man who's involved in a gang has all those abilities to reach out to a 9-year-old and pull that 9-year-old in,
Yep.
how do we show up as men and fathers and community leaders to support the 14-year-old who's reaching out to the 9-year-old or the 11-year-old, and they know exactly how to tap into them to get them to feel like they belong?
Yep.
And so I think that, just thinking about mentorship and what that needs to look like, and consulting and all that, I think it's something we have to continue to be talking about. Yeah.
Good to see you too,
Yeah.
Ken.
Good
Yes,
to see you,
sir.
Ken. Yeah, Ken. Good to see you, brother. So
Um,
yeah, that's just my.
I think that's real, bro. One of the things, man, is like I told you, that I was that I wrote a grant through Involved Dad. Well, not me, my wife wrote a grant, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you about it. That it was approved. Um,
Congrats.
and Would you say?
Yeah. Congrats, man. That's
Oh, I
big.
appreciate it, man. I appreciate it,
Yeah.
bro. And what it is, and this lets you know that how it wasn't scripted, because this grant is surrounding working with young boys, right? And so, and it's something that we're gonna develop from scratch. And I asked you
Okay.
to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to building this out. But one of the key components, bro, of it is that every boy that's in it, he has to have a caregiver part of it.
That's good.
Have to, right? He has to have a caregiver. They have to sign off on it, and they will be required to take a 3-hour workshop training with me and the team, right? Because my thing is, if we really want impact, all parties need to invest, right? We need to have effective communication. Those two need to learn how to communicate. They need to know what is communication. That adult need to know how the brain works of that young person that's in the room. Because sometimes we can get it twisted because that young person is big and quick and swift with their words in their mouth, and we forget that they are still children. And how do we massage and develop this relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a key component. That's going to be that secret sauce of what we do. So I'm already putting it out here. I ain't tripping. God, you can go and try to duplicate, but God anoints. But yeah, right. So that's a key component. And then I added a component where I'll be working with some community-based organizations, right? Doing some training surrounding how do you engage and work with young boys, right? So when you going out there, how do you effectively do it? When we talking to educators, how do you work with these young boys? So yeah, Cole, we got some work to do. We're gonna pilot this boy, and I think that we have what it takes to create that model. And so it's funny that you have brought up that whole mentorship piece, and it's gonna be a distinction, of mentorship and all of that. And so first, what I want, who's gonna be the first mentor, is that child's caregiver. They're gonna be the first mentor, right?
Makes sense.
And because the thing about it is, what's important is that you hear me say it all the time. You can't be a public success and a private failure. If you want that child to take a shift, we first have to win at home. Bottom line, right? And learn how to be consistent at the crib, even when it's difficult. How do I still show up and be consistent in the midst of it? How can I not lose focus of what's the main thing? I brought that child in this world, or I decided to be a surrogate parent. I decided to adopt this child. I decided to foster. I can't abandon them, right? I made a commitment. So yeah, man, we gonna get it in. Get it in as it relates to that, bro. Absolutely.
Well, you know what it is.
Yeah, you already know what it is. So my thing, man, as we get ready to rock out, and transition out, man. My thing is, Cole, is from where you sit, and and hearing what your boy said to you earlier pertaining to that men are not mentoring, and from where you say the space that you sit, what is your thoughts surrounding it? Why are you seeing, like, in your space, what is men saying from around where you are of why they are not being as engaged?
That's a loaded question. I feel like, because I think that when we talk about men, there's a variation of men. So there are a host of men that want to sign up and participate in helping to support young men, but these men don't necessarily have the scholarly background. These men don't, in society's eyes, appear to be the modeled citizen. And so I think what I'm also recognizing is that they are a selected group of men that our society deems, if they look successful, they walk successful, they drive a successful vehicle, they have the two-parent home, and if they look like it, then they have to be healthy men to support children. What I find very interesting about that is that we get caught up in perception and images, and sometimes miss the opportunity to really engage men who don't fit any of those molds, and who happen to be have the ability or have lived experience that aligns with the pathway that some of the young men that I serve are going down. And those men should be equipped with the skills and the ability to be able to go and connect with young men and help walk them down that path. So I think it's a combination of, there are certain men that are easily plucked because they look the success. And there are other men who may not necessarily have that look, but are amazing at what they do, based on the lessons that they've learned through their own lived experiences. So I think it goes back to who are the key players that hold the keys to access.
Mm.
Um, what are the policies and procedures? Because again, we want to keep children safe. We want to make sure that they are connected to healthy men and women, that men and women can pass the background checks, so that children feel, that we are entrusting men to do the things that they need to do. But I think that we have to diversify what we define as success, and that I think we have to open up opportunities for men who want to participate, to find ways to help them be able to engage in supporting kids through their path journeys. So
I see what you did there.
what I do,
I see what you did there. You mean,
what I do,
I see it, but it's real. You're like,
yeah,
basically people who may have a scarred history should be considered, right? I mean,
absolutely,
who have a lived experience, but the one with the scarred history is a lot of times looked over or not even given a chance to
yes,
mentor or coach, and they may be the most qualified one to do it because
absolutely,
not only do they have the skill set, but they have the will set.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I see a lot of that. I got countless brothers like, hey, but when it's time to get, that agency policy, oh, you got a
Yeah.
felony?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Listen, it's crazy. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was just like, yo, I can, I know they work with young people, and I was like, yo, I got some guys who would definitely mentor and support, and they automatically thought that all the men that I work with have a criminal history or came out of jail, and I had
yeah.
to like think, and I didn't want to go there, but I'm like, yo, are they saying that? Because I never ever mentioned criminal justice or in any of the work that I do, because that's not the lane. If my guy happened to have a history, all right, we try to work with them, but that's not what our lane is. But that person automatically assumed that all the men that I work with had a criminal history or came from prison into my programming.
Well, because we don't see successful men, and whatever we define that as men who need resources. So the men who need resources must be down on their luck severely, must have had some type of criminal background history, must not be educated in some way, right? They must have experienced a host of life barriers that put them in a position where they need to get access and resources to programs. And the men that are deemed successful, they don't need any of that,
Yeah.
because
No.
they they have they have the resources to pay, or all these things. So I think it goes back to the biases that we often talk about. That there is a bias around men seeking help, and the men that actually need help
Not. Yeah. Yeah.
happen to be some of the most best looking successful men you can get access
Yep.
to.
I'll tell you, man, was funny, man, and I'll
So
never disclose anything, but some of my most difficult clients or customers, man, that's in one of my services are the individuals who have
whew,
access to more resources. They are the
yes,
ones that I'm like, man, are you really serious? You are
yes,
really hurting this child. And they don't see it. They see it as it's the other parent. But I'm like, yo, y'all are really destroying this child. And you can see it
yeah,
all in the child's face, man.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So yeah,
I
you're
think
right, bro.
yeah, there's again that's why these platforms are so important, and that's why we're here. Because I think it's really in key to shifting the narratives about how we see men, how we see fathers, and most importantly, how do we see Black and brown fathers in all facets? Because I think there's so much humanity that gets lost in how we see Black men. So you know, and
Yeah.
I think that trickles down to how we see boys
Yeah.
who one day become Black men.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. All right, man. Yay.
Yeah,
I'm glad
brother.
we back. But I do
Yeah.
have I do have a legit or not legit. I think this one is a slam dunk.
What
I
you
think
got, bro? What
I
you
think this one is a slam dunk.
got? Is that what I think it is?
No, it's not because I ain't
Oh,
tell you nothing about this one. So I think it's a
okay.
slam dunk. So my thing is, just say you and your man's, you know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
You and your
Okay.
man's, it's Halloween. You and your
Okay.
man's, y'all both got kids, and
Okay.
y'all spouses like, yo, we gonna take the kids out. They plan this whole thing. We gonna get together. We gonna take the kids out. Da da da. Right? They did. The partners did. The
Yeah.
partners they came out
They
like, this
planned
we
it.
gonna do da da da, and you just show up,
Yeah.
and your man's y'all show up,
Yep.
and when they get there, it's like, oh no, it's cold outside. So you and your man's
Yeah.
y'all got to take the kids out trick or treating. So
So
my thing,
they plan it with the goal in mind to participate, but then it gets that temperature drops, and they say, "Hey, you now it's your turn to do your job."
so so my thing is that legit or not legit?
Man, that's not legit. Come on, that's not that's not legit.
Okay,
I
that's why I say I thought
that's
it was a slam dunk.
that,
And then I'm gonna
nah.
add this to it. Is it legit or not legit if the husbands would say, "I'm not going, y'all go"? Is that legit or not legit?
I feel like you put me in situations, man, where I gotta.
I'm just asking. I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, and then when I come to visit,
I'm asking for a friend. Is it legit or not
and then
legit?
and then I come and visit, and I'm
Look
getting
at
the
you.
side eye. You know,
Is it legit
you
or not
you
legit? If
you
they
over here
like,
getting the side eye.
if it's anarchy and they like, we not going.
Man, listen, it's so I'm gonna just say that ain't legit either, right? Because it's for the kids.
And
It's
and,
for the
and,
kids.
and I said I'm asking for a friend. The husbands, they bundled up and they walked out and they walked. They did it. I'm just asking for a friend.
That's it right there.
I'm just asking for a friend.
That's what we do. That's all I'm gonna say. And we out.
Yep. See you next week.